concepts. First is when we might want to ignore some files. So far we have really been committing everything that we have made changes on. We have been committing everything into Git, right? But we might want Git to completely ignore some things. So let's say that we have something like, I don't know, keys.txt, right? And we have our Amazon API key, and that's gonna be, something essentially. And let's say our eBay API key, and that will be something as well. Essentially, what this app uses, right? And again, we're not using any programming language here, we're just using TXT files, right? So, but the app would be using these API keys to query Amazon, to query eBay, for whatever books, authors, whatnot, and so on. Now, this should only be visible to us. To us, meaning the developers. It should not go into any public repositories. GitHub, again, we haven't really moved into GitHub yet. They'll come in. GitHub essentially allows us to share our Git repositories online so that we can, multiple people can work on them. But these should definitely not go into GitHub, for example, because they can be visible to, well, literally anybody. Now, even if you make your repository private, which is technically like hidden from public view, these things can still be, well, viewed if some information leak happens. Let's not go into that. This is not a cybersecurity overview, but the point is, certain things need to be kept private. So let's go and explore how we can do that. All right, so we have this keys.txt. Well, that's fine. Let's go to git status, and we're on branch main, untracked files, and nothing added to commit. Now Git is seeing this keys.txt file. Now, if we would change something, let's go and change something. We'll go to, well, let's go to bookstore, and we'll add another Harry Potter book. And the order of Felix. Do I know my Harry Potter books? I think I do. And if I go here and say git status, and I have this branch main, so some things here. So git this is modified, this is untracked. Now, if I would add all of these here, what would happen, right? I remember when I said, well, we can add file by file, or we can add essentially everything that we have been working on. Now, if I would add all of this, here's what would happen. I would go into git status, and now we have a new file, keys.txt, and if we commit this, now our keys, which are supposed to be for our eyes only, are now visible to anybody that can look at this Git repository. And that's not a good thing, right? So first of all, let's remove this here. To remove it, there's a couple of commands. The main one is git restore, oddly enough, because it kind of like goes backwards. So if I go git restore and say the staged file, so whatever is ready to be committed, so staged, and what do we want to remove? Keys.txt. And if we go git status again, so now we have changes ready to be committed, and keys.txt is not being tracked by Git. So we're okay, we're good. Let's clear this up. Let's commit a new Harry Potter book. Message, a new Harry Potter book. Let's go back to VS Code. And let's take a look here. Okay, so we're good. Harry Potter and Order Phoenix is here and whatnot. And we'll go to git log and we have a new Harry Potter book committed. Well, that's fine. This is a good thing, right? Probably. Let's exit this here. But let's take a look. This is still greened out by VS Code, and VS Code is telling us this is untracked. It's telling us Git really wants to track this file. Essentially, it says, okay, it's not part of Git right now, but it's going to track it the first chance it gets. Or like, for example, if we do git add -- all again, like if we have a bunch of files that we want to add for the next commit, it's going to do that again. So in order to save us from this possible mistake, we can do a git ignore file. We can create a git ignore file. So let's create a git ignore file. So it has to be named exactly like it is. Touch, period, and git ignore. So touch creates touch creates a file. Git ignore is the name of the file, and the period before it says it's going to be a hidden file within the file system. Let's go here, and now we have a git ignore file. Again, it literally has to be exactly like it is. No uppercases, no lower cases, git ignore, and the period before it. Because Git will specifically look for this file to read and to see what it's supposed to ignore. So never ever commit this. Just pretend like it does not exist. Ignore it. That's why it's called git ignore. So let's throw this in here. Let's throw keys.txt into git ignore. I'm saying to Git, hey, please ignore it. Now I misspelled git ignore. Dot git ignore. Git ignore. There we go. Now, thank you VS Code for correcting me. Now git ignore has this nice little icon in front of it, and Git picks it up automatically. Git picks it up and reads from it, and it will read that keys.txt is supposed to be ignored. Now look, keys.txt is now tracked, is not tracked by Git anymore. So if we do git status, we have a new file that needs to be tracked, git ignore. But keys.txt is not there anymore. So we'll add this to our next commit, and we'll say git commit -m created a git, I guess we'll say dot git ignore dot, come on, git ignore file. Awesome. Perfect. So now we have a git ignore file and the keys.txt. Now let's make another file, and we can do it from VS Code, and we'll say, okay, database names.txt, and maybe we want to ignore certain database names, so again, they're not there, or database usernames. So Amazon would be whatever, user at amazon.com, or AWS, whatever. And I don't know, doesn't really matter. Nano would be user at nano.com, basically like our cloud database services. And we also want to ignore this. Well, what do? We go to git ignore, and we'll say, you know what? Please also ignore database names.txt, and it will ignore it. See, now these are grayed out. Check this out. These are white, these are grayed out, because VS Code is telling us that Git is going to ignore these files. Basically, pretend like they're not even there. And let's make some changes. Let's add a Harry Potter book. And the prisoner of... Is this how you spell Azkaban? Probably. And then... So we got that. That has changed in the login. And we're doing all of this in the main branch. New login functionality. In the profiles, we'll have give me a superhero name, please, Aquaman. Male, and probably that, and then Peter Parker. He's a young one, right? Something like Spider-Man is like a high school kid. Cool. And user list. I will add another user. We'll add Jerry in here. Okay, so a bunch of things changed, right? We added the database names, bookstore, login, profiles, user list, and so on. Let's do git status. So many things have changed, and Git is telling us this. Bookstore got modified, login got modified, profiles got modified, user list got modified, git ignore got modified. What do you mean git ignore got modified? Well, we added a file to ignore, essentially. But as far as all of the other eyes are concerned, nobody can see these files. They can see them in git ignore, that these files technically exist, so to speak, but they're not there. It's more like these files were at some point a part of the project. So if we do git add -- all, add all of that, and then we'll do git commit many changes to basic functionality and new files to ignore. Great. So we have that here. We come back here, right? And this is not part of a repository anymore. It's only local to my system. And we'll see what only local to my system means when we get to the GitHub subunits. But this means when I push all of this code up to GitHub and share with somebody else, these files, these very sensitive files, are not going to go, take the road with them, essentially. If I want to share my API keys with my team, I can do that over more secure ways, USB keys, whatnot, and just whatever your team does, essentially. But it's not going to go into a public repository or even the private one, and it's not going to be visible to everyone. It's going to be only on my computer. Now you would say, okay, well, what? How do I know what files to put into git ignore? And literally, GitHub has a bunch of git ignore templates. Like if we go into GitHub and we pull off a bunch of templates there, they have git ignore for almost every language there is. So like if you're working on, let's say we're going to be working on React, And actually, React libraries will make their own git ignore files, like for example, Vite. Sorry, not libraries, the package tools. But we can go and find a React or Vite somewhere here. It's here essentially. Unreal Engine, whatnot, and if any, like, so Kotlin working on Android, everything will be ignored. Node, React, Node git ignore. This is what you would put in any Node, React, Vite, whatever file. Essentially, anything that's possibly pointless, not needed, or possibly not meant for everybody's eyes will be ignored by Git. So something like let's see, cache is not needed because .cache file within a Node project is a bunch of like pre-cached files every time your project rebuilds. So this is not needed for this is not needed to be shared across different teams because everybody's going to have their own cache of their own builds. But something like a .env environment variables, this is where some of the API keys or database keys or database usernames or passwords will live, and this will be ignored as well. So this is the basics of the git ignore file. Think of it like a directions to Git on what to not include in saving checkpoints, essentially. Now, let's explore a little bit other Git tools and the GUI tools, because I've been switching back between VS Code and saying, take a look at this, take a look at that. And I said before that VS Code and lots of other GUI tools have evolved a lot. So let's see what we mean by that. And the first thing that you're going to need is to go into the extensions. And get GitLens. So GitLens is Git Supercharged is one of the well, so to speak, more popular extensions. 40 million downloads ever since it got released. So popular is kind of like an understatement for it. JavaScript and TypeScript Nightly has 5 million downloads. Literally means this is running the development world. So download that and enable it very quickly. So like I could do the same thing, disable, reload, enable. Let's come back. I have too many extensions. Enable, download. Let's restart VS Code so it picks up all the changes. It'd be kind of like I'm starting it from a blank with you. Now remember, like what I said, extensions are getting better. GUI tools are getting better. We'll talk about GitHub Desktop later, but VS Code is really, I mean, it has really taken leaps and bounds in terms of integrating itself with Git. So here it tells us what branch we're on, what not. So that's good, but GitLens can tell us a lot more. And for a beginner, it can tell us and visualize us a lot on Git. So let's open up source control, version control, and let's take a look here. We have a graph, right? And if we look at this graph, it's starting to look a lot like our log, right? I'll scroll this log down all the way down to the end. Remember, the start will be at the end. We have had 3 books, and that's here. One file changed. Update book availability. Well, that's the next log. Add customers. Well, that's the next log, and so on. Now we have a couple of things. Weird, branchy looking things, which are, well, do you guess, branches, right? This is a branch. This is a branch. Now, this is a branch which went off, right? This is a branch which went off. Then it got merged with the main branch. It got merged with the main branch. A new branch got merged with the main branch. And we can skip around and see what actually happened. And this is really cool. This was not possible like just literally a couple of years ago. Add 3 books. Literally, the first thing we did is add these 3 lines of, well, not code, but 3 text lines. Update book availability. We removed the 2 towers and we added the 2 towers sold out. Remember when I said it's not quite like it's not quite that we changed the line. Git, if we change a line, Git treats it as removing a line and inserting a new line. So the 2 towers got removed and the 2 towers sold out is now inserted. And then a blank line got inserted, and Android's Dream of Electric Sheep is now here. Add customers. Well, look at that. A new file, a bunch of new customers. Fixed profiles, all of that is there. And we can skip around in the commit history. So we don't really, almost like we don't really need the git log anymore, and stepping back with those scary commands, the ones we did before. Well, sort of, kind of, because this is actually doing the same thing which we are doing. Behind the scenes, it's still running those commands, this tool. And this tool is actually not free. We're using the free version, and it does most of the things that we need. But the pro version has all of the other commands like removing commits, whatnot, like what we did with skip around and visualizing. So it's not exactly everything that we can do in the command line, but behind the scenes, it's running those same command line, those same commands which we have seen, and giving you a visual, right? So we have an update profiles data, right? Look, we have a create initial login. We have an emergency bookstore update, a couple of things. We have updates and so on and so forth. We can skip around. So this is a really cool part of it, that we can actually use the tools, the GUI tools that we have right now, and we can use them along with Git. Now, which way is better, the command line or this way, right? It helps, right? There's a lot of options and whatnot, and honestly, sometimes the command line is faster. If you want a better visualization, then you might go for a tool like this. If you want to go for the pro versions, a lot of companies will pay for pro versions and whatnot. But you can essentially, we're getting to a point where you can do a lot of the things that before you really had to use the command line for, that you can substitute a GUI tool. Now, am I saying that the Git command line is superior or GUI superior? No. There are old school people saying the GUI tools are completely basically BS, and anything that needs to be done seriously needs to be done through the command line. And there are other people saying that all these people are dinosaurs. we can do almost everything with GUI tools. The truth is somewhere in between, essentially. Over the last couple of years, the GI tools have gotten so much better for Git. And of course, integration within our IDE tools, our development environment, VS Code has really taken a big step forward. It's more so as to help us, in our quality of life, essentially, in our development process. So in most of the tasks, you might not even have to go to the command line tools, because you can go and take a look at the VS Code tutorial on how to use basic Git commands within VS Code, and then you can go through it and then commit and add changes and commit again, just using VS Code and the Git Lens tools. Basically, like click, point, click, point, click, point, click. However, behind the scenes, they're still using the same commands. Behind the scenes, VS Code is running these commands within the terminal. They're essentially sending commands to Git, to the Git software. So it's important to understand what's going on under the hood, so to speak. And because command line tools do not change often. Literally all the Git commands ever since Git has started are still valid. They add on to them, but all of them are still valid. There's something like up to 200 of them. The GUI tools change a lot. And since the last time I opened GitLens 2 months ago, a lot of things have changed and a lot of things have moved. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to get used to it again. I don't need to really get used to Git command tools because they really change. So it's kind of like you have more of an access to the raw material, essentially. And here you have that, safe zone. But at the same time, as a learner, you can see a lot of things which are going on. Oh, branch here, branch there, step back, step back, step back. No, the same thing that we did with logs and stepping back with logs and whatnot, but you can kind of like visualize it. So my suggestion, use both. Mix them up, and make the best out of the both worlds, because that's what it is there for you. Now, for the rest, be sure to check out anything that we add on to it, because Git is a huge, huge, huge program, essentially. So everything that we add onto it will be posted up.